Hey, 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 how we doing? Here we are. Well, no, I'm not actually at the Toronto Film Festival, but I am. I'm actually getting my first review of the festival out of the way before I even leave to go there, but this will be up the first day of Toronto, so I will be at the festival at the time that this review is live. But I needed to get on here and give you guys my thoughts on my first film from this year's Toronto Film Festival, being Little Amélie, or The Character of Rain, directed by Mailys, Vallade, and Liane-Cho. And this is kind of a blend between cel-shaded animation, 3D animation a bit, but it's more traditional hand-drawn, I think, more than anything from my understanding of it. And I really want to thank GKIDS for sending me a screener of this movie, because this was one I was worried I wasn't going to be able to see physically at the festival, because the showtimes weren't really great for my own personal schedule, you know, my time frame being there at the festival. And so thank goodness I was able to get this very short and sweet 75 to 78 minute movie out of the way. And so this was one I knew I absolutely had to get on here and review, because I heard a lot of great things coming out of Cannes earlier this year in the Annecy Film Festival. The letterbox curve was really, really high with a 4.1. It still stands at that. And I was just really excited to see this film, because one genre of film that really gets me excited every time I go to these festivals is animation. And so this and Arco, which I'm still trying to get a ticket to at the time of this recording, were the two that I really was eyeing more than anything. Now, I might still be able to see that one, but this, yet again, it would have been a tight squeeze. And so when I not only got the screening, but sat down to watch it, after the first 9 minutes or so, when I came back to it the next day, I was just so locked in, because let me tell you something, I really had no idea how I was going to feel about this movie when I first saw the first 9 minutes of it. I knew it looked beautiful, but I really did not know what they were going to do with the story, considering, you know, the narration that runs throughout the film, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But to be honest with you guys, I'm really going to have a hard time believing that there are going to be many movies, maybe only one that I can think of that's playing at the festival, that are going to be more moving than this. I mean, this movie rocked me to my core. I am serious. This is a stunning achievement in animation, and quite honestly, one of the absolute best films of the year. Little Amélie is so, so beautiful. And just for context, this is based on the short novel, The Character of Rain, by Amélie Nathaniel, and so it's, you know, autobiographical. It takes place from the beginning of her life to the age of 3 in 1969, where she's living with her Belgian family in Japan. And so basically it's just this very sweet slice of life, you know, this very specific period of this girl learning about the world for the first time, and trying to understand everything happening around her, whether it be, you know, the environment or the culture, what have you. It's just kind of all being absorbed into this 3-year-old girl, and just seeing how she learns about things, her insight, you know, because she is a very, very intuitive, you know, young girl in this movie. And I really love that even though this movie makes the character of Amélie extremely smart, it never feels like she is above being a kid. Like, everything that she asks, like her dad or everybody around, it feels like legitimate questions that children would be asking, but there's also a level of insight and intelligence to her character that goes you know, a little bit beyond her years. And I think that's what makes her such an interesting character, especially at this point in her life. And another thing that's really interesting about the narration, it is narrated from the voice of, you know, little Amélie, but the insights are so poignant and adult-like. For instance, there's this one line, which I don't really think that this is giving anything away, but just to kind of put this into perspective, she's basically saying, at 3 years old, you see everything, but you understand nothing. And I think that really struck a chord with me more than anything, because I get the sense throughout this entire film that all the ruminations that are being talked about from, this omniscient sort of Amélie, who's kind of looking over the entire film and her story, it feels just wrought with so much depth and, introspection, and it's just absolutely stunning what is accomplished in this narration. Now, it put me off a little bit at first, but I do think by the end it does make a little bit more sense, and everything kind of, comes together in a very, very nice package. But I think the true star of this film, besides the wonderful, wonderful script, is the cel-shaded animation. All the textures here, there's just such an amazing tangibility. Despite the fact that it is, more hand-drawn, I absolutely think that this is going to be an innovative film if people really go out of their way to check it out in the way that something like the Spider-Verse movies are. Because I feel like this is, not to the same technical level, but it's taking it a step in the next direction where animation needs to go. And just the textures are so fluid, and the way that it blends surrealism to kind of emphasize a lot of these characters' emotions, it's just absolutely phenomenal. And it's so imaginative in a kind of childlike wonder way, as you would expect this character to be experiencing these very sensory things at her age. It is just absolutely so well done. And even more impressive, I think, is how the objects in the frame are used to stand in for, narrative symbolism in the storytelling, and how, the film beautifully match cuts between these objects to emphasize these points. It is just some of the best storytelling that I have seen in any animated movie, full stop. I'm really, not exaggerating here. I think that this is just some of the most complex and just absolutely pathos-filled writing in the way that it is expressed across the screen. And look, this is a movie that you could sit your kids down in front of if they're very young, and they'll enjoy like this little girl splashing around a pond, looking at carp fish or whatever. But I really do think that there's such a maturity to these themes that I don't even think the smallest of children will be able to pick up on, and maybe subliminally in some way, but I think that there's a lot of stuff that I really did not expect them to get into here, and I don't dare spoil, some of the big plot points or anything like that, but it definitely dives a little bit into being a child of a Belgian family within Japan, and kind of like the whole cultural outlook of that at that time, and kind of how that would affect her understanding of who she is in the world. It really deals with a lot of very complex emotions, but it's delivered in such an accessible and just very, very thoughtful way. I absolutely love so much about this movie, and yet again, all the characters are so great. All the family members are, very well integrated into the story. You get to know a little bit about them through their actions, through their day-to-day motions, their interactions with Amélie, and, of course, there's the grandmother character as well. And really, I think the big standout in this cast is the woman who plays like the housekeeper, who is Japanese and works for them, and the bond that she creates with Amélie is truly the heart of this film, and I think what probably moved me the most. I mean, I am not ashamed to admit, I cried at least twice watching this movie within a span of less than 80 minutes. So, yeah, this movie is wrought with power. I mean, this, I think anybody is going to be able to latch onto emotionally. say this in not in the sense that it is, you know, very out there and R-rated like Memoir of a Snail, but I think from an emotional standpoint, those movies are very similar to me. But I think this film more so is in line with, you know, the best work of Hayao Miyazaki. Yeah, like Spirited Away, and more specifically, I think the biggest comp I can draw to this film is My Neighbor Totoro. And honestly, maybe this is a hot take, I don't know, I think I might like it a little bit more than My Neighbor Totoro. And that's saying a lot, because that's like my second favorite Miyazaki film overall, right after Spirited Away. So yeah, that's me saying that this ranks up there with some of Miyazaki's absolute best works. And that is probably the highest compliment I can give any animated movie. My goodness, this, without a doubt, is one of my favorite films of the year. But I will say, there's a couple of things, like I said, the beginning 9 minutes, granted, I was probably overstimulated when I first started watching it, so I don't want to, you know, hold that against the film. But I think the way the movie ends, obviously, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's just, I think there could have been a little bit more, I felt, when it wrapped up. But yet again, I was just so enthralled and absolutely riveted by this very, very touching story of this girl trying to understand, like, her place in the world and what the world is for the very first time. This is one of the greatest coming-of-age movies I think that I have seen in such a long time. And honestly, I think that this is one of the absolute best animated movies of the decade. And honestly, one of the best movies of the decade. Seriously, guys. This absolutely shocked me how much I adore this film. Seriously, I think that this is one you are going to absolutely have to check out whenever it hits theaters. I imagine it's going to have a limited release at the end of the year, and then probably kind of, you know, sprinkle out nationwide beginning of next. But this is an absolute must-see for fans of animation, for fans of cinema, for fans of stories like this, because, my goodness, even if this doesn't sound like this would usually be up your alley, I really think anybody can relate to this film. And I'm going to give Little Amélie, or the character of Rain, a 9.5 out of 10. My goodness, I mean, the fact that not only did I get the chance to see this early, but it happened to be probably one of the best movies from the entire festival. Like, I really only see a handful, well, not even a handful of movies, maybe 1 or 2 movies topping this. Seriously, this is absolutely incredible. And yeah, definitely going to make my top 10 list of the year, I can tell you that much. But yeah, guys, for those of you who have seen it already at any of the festivals, let me know down in the comments below and tell me if you're excited to see this movie. I mean, I'd hope so after this review. Because, my goodness, everybody should go and seek this out when they get the chance to do so. And please smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, especially if you want to see all the other reviews coming out of this festival. And I'll tell you guys, I don't want to say what the next review is, because being a member of the press, some of these lines I just have to get in early and see if I get in. I think the next movie I'm going to be reviewing, I think I have a very, very good shot of doing so. But yet again, let's just see how things play out and make sure that everything is set in stone before I give that to you guys. But I think this year at the festival, I'm going to have a little bit more time on my hands. I'm going to be much closer to the venues, so I'm going to be able to nail out a lot more reviews than I have in the past. So please look forward to all that and more. This is going to be a wonderful time. I'm sure I'm having a great time already by the time this video is up. And yeah, guys, hope to see you all at the festival, and I'll talk to you soon.